Okay, so today we're going to be learning how to use models when you have only like one little box to make the model. Okay, so let's just say the dimensions of the square is 1 mile by 1 mile. So that means the area is 1 mile squared. So 1 square mile. So let's just say that there are two people who own this. Nora owns one part, and CJ owns another. So let's just say Nora owns 3/4 of the land, and CJ owns the other 1/4. So right now we're going to focus on Nora. So let's just say, so first let's map out whose land is who. So we have the lines going in to separate CJ from Nora. So now we have it into fourths, we can see which one's Nora's and which one's CJ's. So Nora has 3/4, so we'll shade that in with white. Yeah, so she has this part, and then CJ has the other half. I mean the other fourth. So let's just say Nora decides to plant tomatoes on 2/3 of her land. So how do we do that? So let's divide it up into thirds, probably, since we need to, because we're seeing the thirds. So we have those third lines right in red. So now since 2/3 of them is where she's planting tomatoes, we can shade in 2/3 with a different color. So now you see that it's 2/3 of her land, but we want to look at it in total. So we want to see how much tomatoes were planted. So let's see. So let's find the amount of squares in total. There's 1, 2, 3. We have 3 squares, and then across there is 1, 2, 3, 4. And since we want to find how much there are, we can do 3 times 4, which is 12. So that means there are 12 squares in total. Now, how many are colored in red? So we have 1 and 2. We have 2 squares by the 3 squares up there, and 2 times 3 is 6. So that means there's 6 out of the 12 squares. So and then that is equal to 1/2. So she plants tomatoes on 1/2. She planted on 2/3 of her land, but 1/2 on the total land, which is what we will be looking for. So 1/2 is tomatoes. So let's try another problem. And that is basically how you show it in one box. So let's say Olivia. So Olivia owns, so there's a giant plot of land. So Olivia owns the whole thing, but she decides to sell some to Zach. And she gives him 2/3 of the land. So first let's put it into thirds. So Zach has a part here, right in white. So that's all Zach's land. So he wants to plant a couple different crops on them. So he decides to plant blueberries in a fourth of his land. So how can we find how much blueberries? Well, how much blueberries are planted in total on the land. So we can first let's divide up the whole thing into fourths because, well, he's planting it on 1/4 of the land. So now we have the fourths. We can fill in 1/4, but we only want to fill in 1/4 of his land since he's only planting it on his land. So right now we can see that that is 1/4 of his land, but it's 1/4 of 2/3 of the whole thing. So we need to figure out the exact fraction that blueberries are planted on in the whole thing. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 times 1, 2, 3. So let's see. If we bring the 4 and the 3, we get 4 times 3, and that equals 12. So there are 12 squares in total. And how many are blueberries planted on? So we have 2 squares by 1. So if we bring the 2 and 1 together, bring them right here, 2 times 1 equals 2. So then we can bring the 12 and the 2 all the way together, and we have 2 out of 12. So there are 2/12 of blueberries are planted on the whole land in total. So that would be 2/12 are blueberries.